Hello everybody, Cone Dodger here, and welcome back to the Automation Japanese Motor Recreation Miniseries. I gotta find a shorter name for that. We are continuing on though, building our 90s Japanese motors. We got a nice little scrolling list here. We've covered some Nissan, some Honda, a little bit into the Mitsubishi. Today I'm gonna go into a new manufacturer due to a request in the last video for the Mazda 1.8 BT or BP18 or just the BP. Basically it's the later MX-5/Miata motor, inline 4, and it's pretty. And it's not, I don't know how to put this in a in a way that won't offend people. There's nothing overly special about it. I guess what's so special about it is how unspectacular it is. That came off as offensive. That did not work at all. It's rock solid. It makes a decent amount of power for its size. Extremely reliable, nice free revving engine, and it's right for that car. A lightweight car, great handling car. They did later on, late 90s, more early 2000s, they made a Mazda Speed MX-5, which was a turbocharged version, but did not have such luxuries in the 90s. So let's get started building this 1.8 BP. It is an inline 4 with a cast iron block. It's an 83 by 85 motor. So we go here to 83 by 85. That gives you roughly a 1.84 liter engine. Showing it as reading 1839, so that's fairly close. 83 by 85. Nothing too spectacular on the bottom end. One thing to note is it did have what is called an oil squirter. It would squirt up into the base of the piston here. Something that helped with that durability and reliability. Not something you would typically find on just your everyday run-of-the-mill motor. But moving on to the top end, we have dual over cam, 4 valves per cylinder. We have an aluminum head, I remember it this time, and 9.0 to 1 compression. So although it's not a super high performance motor, it did have a pretty healthy little compression ratio there. I'm gonna stick to that normal cam profile for now, but I'm gonna say no VVT, no VVL. They were using some, I guess I would describe it as kind of electronic trickery as far as their timing control goes in the later years, but that was like 98, 99. So in the spirit of the series, I'm just gonna stick to the straightforward no VVT, no VVL motor. Okay, and it is a double humped valve cover like that. As far as this motor goes, I actually do have a little bit of experience with it, in that I work as a crew guy on a spec Miata on occasion as a part of Attack Motorsports. A friend of mine drives the car, and it's a really cool series. Mazda puts a lot of effort into stuff like that, and kudos to them for doing it. It's a great entry-level road racing series, really it's a great entry-level road racing car, and this engine is a big part of that. We actually use the 1.6 in our car, but the 1.6 and the 1.8 very popular, and they're so simple, but they're so rock solid and high performance enough that it makes it a really fun car to drive. They are multi-point, single throttle body, and standard intake, and running on regular unleaded. And even in our race car, regular unleaded. that's part of the appeal to it. It's a very cheap car to run and maintain. Okay, let's see. Timing, I go with like a 60 for now. That's something we'll be able to mess with later. Oh, there's something maybe I don't have that down. Oh no, 7,000 RPM stock rev limit. There we go. And the exhaust. I'm just gonna go with a short cast. Maybe a 2-inch exhaust system with a 3-way cat, a reverse flow, or a baffle now. Straight through, then a reverse flow. So, you can see here it's set up as a front-wheel drive motor, but they actually did use this motor in some front-wheel drive applications as well as the Miata and our MX-5. I'm gonna leave all equality at 0 for now. I've had a couple people tell me maybe I should be not messing with the quality so much, so I'll work with that. If need be, I'll have that option available. This motor, we're shooting for 129 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 122 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM. And I can tell you that our spec Miata car started at, when we got it, it had a motor in it that was, let's go ahead and start this running. Pulled it out of a junkyard and basically ran it just like it was. And it was putting down, I think 99 horsepower was what we got to the wheels. So, age took its toll on there. This season we have gotten a fully spec'd blueprinted motor, and we're putting about around 124 horsepower to the wheels, so it's doing really well. This is to the crank, so let's see, 124 and 124. I've got to get a little bit more horsepower and a little less torque, so that generally means a little bit higher cam profile. Maybe we'll take out a little timing. Uh-oh. Looks like perhaps I've run into some knock issues. Yeah, judging by the way that chart's going, I'm gonna say so. I don't hear it, but just feels like it. No, I'm actually very safe on the octane. So, I guess taking away that, where was it? Ignition timing was too much for it. That's a little strange. It's just not responding to that higher cam profile at all. Actually, that was pretty good. 131 and 127. That's a little high, so I can come back down off of that a little bit. So maybe on this one I won't have to mess with any of those quality settings. That's aided by the fact that 7,000 RPM rev limit. Not going to have any bottom end issues with that. 127, still a little too high on the torque. And still a little too high on the power. So let's just go right back into that. Motor like this, I don't see any reason I shouldn't be able to get exactly the right numbers. Too high, that's not really affecting it too much. Did I already have this right and I was adjusting it more than I needed to? It's possible. It's possible. I may have it running a little rich as well. It's not like those Honda motors that were revving 11,000 million RPM, so it doesn't need so much fuel. So yeah, let me do that. Let me take a little fuel away. So it's really safe on our AKI. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that might not have had much of a change there. Actually changed in a way I didn't expect. One last try at it. So in automation news, Rob released a video today as I'm recording this, probably yesterday as this video goes up, depicting the new work he's done on the multiplayer side of the game. Let's see, only a horsepower short, let me give it one more click. Really cool stuff. I will put the link to that video in the description. I'm sure most of you have seen it, but very cool stuff. A lot of opportunity to expand on this game already, even before we get the car design or anything, just in the engine design or multiplayer. That could get really fun. They've already been doing tournaments and stuff on the forums, just based off, you know, gentlemen's agreements on what to do. Phone going off. If it was legitimatized and made official, I think that's gonna make everything they've already done more appealing to people, and hopefully will help boost some popularity. 128 at 6,200. I think I'll stick with that. So this one is going to be naming on this thing. It's one of those weird engines that has like a dozen names for some reason. Mazda was not too particular about what they wanted to call it, but BP. So I'm going to say it's 1.8 BP. Save. There we go. So let's see where that stacks up in here. That is, let's see, the Honda B18 LS motor put 139. This one puts 128. It is, however, much cheaper, much lower hours, but that is partially due to how I was affecting the quality on these. How is it versus the 5S? It's cheaper than the 5S, and weight is also lighter. So yeah, it fits in well with this group. It would have its own unique purpose. I mean, there's some similar motors to it, but there's definitely areas where this motor would fit in perfectly with some models of car. The MX-5, or a real lightweight roadster or a coupe, anything like that, real lightweight car, great motor to have. If you didn't want something super expensive like a turbo motor or a variable valve timing VTEC motor, something like that. But changing gears totally, there's a couple motors in the Toyota range that I thought to do just driving down the street one day, and I happened to see a Mark III Supra, and I thought, well, why didn't I do the 7M-GE and the 7M-GTE? Those are both 90s motors. Up until the 1JZ and 2JZ took over, they were considered, the highest performance Toyota motors in existence. So they certainly deserve to be in this list. I mentioned earlier that the 1JZ and the 2JZ, they do deserve to be in this group as well. Certainly, but I'm waiting on twin turbos to get released before I tackle those. So let's start out with the 7M-GE, which was the naturally aspirated motor. Okay, so this is an inline 6. It is a cast iron block and a 83 by 91. So what's that mean? That means you have a basically 3 liter or 2.95 4-liter inline 6, pretty under square, long stroke motor. Cast iron crank, cast conrods, and we'll say cast pistons. I may go for the hyper-eutectic, I'm not sure. Yeah, let's stick with these. Not a ton of information. Another one of those motors that very differing opinions. So I'm just kind of taking the average of everything I found. I have a feeling I'm going to have bottom end issues as far as reliability goes, but perhaps not, and I'll discuss that later. But it was a dual overhead cam, 4 valve per cylinder, aluminum head, very similar to a lot of these motors we've already gone through. Compression ratio on this one, 9.1 to 1. I'll go with normal cam profile, no VVT, no VVL. Kind of a squarish valve cover. Yeah, not that square though. Can I get that in a different color? Yeah. Let's get that one in a silver. And I'll go with that. Is that as silver as we get? Just the machine metal? Yep, appears so. So I'll go with that. This one, the 7M-GE, regular NA, nothing turbocharged just yet. Injection with a multi-point, single throttle body, standard intake, and regular pump gas. We'll go with a 12.8. I'm starting to get a better feel for this fuel mixture now, and the timing as well. Timing is something with these NA motors is one of the keys to being able to tune in where that final horsepower number is going to be. But as I mentioned earlier, I don't think I'm going to have bottom end issues because the red line on these guys was at 6,500 RPM. Exhaust, just a regular short cast. We'll say a 2 1/4, 2.5. With a 3-way kit. Straight through, reverse flow. That setup seems to be working well for us. On this one, you can see it's the exhaust is routed the right way, so this is a rear-wheel drive setup. What else am I forgetting? I think that's it. Horsepower. I got one of these ranges again where, like I said, I took the average of everything that I read. Seeing between 195 and 200 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, and between 185 and 195 foot-pounds of torque at about 4,800 RPM. So if I can get 195, I think that would be 195 horsepower. I'd be happy with that. Don't really know where we're going to end up. I haven't done an inline 6 in a long time. Boy, that's a sound we haven't heard in a while. So somewhat as I expected, I'm actually a little high on these numbers. Power 202, it's within the range. 205 was about the most I read. Torque, between 185 and 195. So what I'm going to do is give it a little bit more cam. Same thing I did with the last motor. More cam, less timing. Maybe a little less fuel. Just trying to reduce the torque, but keep the power about the same. So what did I do? I increased the torque and increased the horsepower. Failure all around. Okay, come back here. Let's start over a little bit. Let's see. definitely don't want more than 205 horsepower. Okay, that's not bad. Power's a little late, so let me actually go the other way on this cam profile. Make sure that doesn't give us too much torque, but I just want to try it. No, that's okay. I'm gonna be a little short on the horsepower though. So back on there. 40 where we started. I'll skip through that. No, I think the 42 was a winner. So you can see without messing with this quality, keeping the man hours way down. So I may take some time and go back and revise some of the older ones I did and try and use a little less of the quality. I'm still having issues with the bottom end though on some of them. No issues here. 205 horsepower at 6,300 RPM, 201 foot-pounds at 3,600. So coming in about the right times. The torque's just a little high, and that's probably because it's such a long stroke motor. And considering I couldn't get super concrete answers on anything, I'm okay with that. That's a great. It was a great baseline Supra motor. I put in a bunch of other things as well, primarily bigger cars. It's a very large engine, you know, 3-liter inline 6. You need a lot of hood there to conceal that thing. But that Mark III Supra, not the lightest cars in the world, so it was pretty fitting for that. So let me name that guy real quick. This is the 7M-GE, and we're just gonna stay right here and move on to the 7M-GTE, which, as you may have already figured out, was the turbo version. So all we need to do is go in here, click on turbo. It actually uses a turbo very similar to the 3S-GE motors we built earlier for the MR2s as a CT26, which I just used a regular performance turbo for with a reduced max boost. When I say reduced, I mean it, because these were limited to between 5 and 7 PSI from the factory. So not super high boost setups here. From what I had looked into owning one of these previously, and this motor was extremely prone to what they call head lifting. So basically the compression, which reminds me, the compression ratio on this motor goes down to 8.4. But as I was saying, the compression would get to a point where it would start to lift the head off of the block. So there was a problem with the bolts, I believe, in the head stretching or coming loose, and that would obviously create issues, and it mostly would be detrimental to the head gasket. So there was obviously very high performance motors based off of this, but they had do some strengthening with the headwork. So let's see. We are looking for, again, I've got a little bit of a range, about 230 horsepower at 5,600 and about 240 foot-pounds of torque at about 4,000. So only looking for about a 30 to 40 horsepower jump from the NA model. So I may be able to bring that boost down a little. Or maybe not, as that chart is displaying. Put on turbo, decrease power. Probably just knock issues. So I'm guessing it was probably running premium, and I did not do so. Oh, I see something I didn't do. Use your knock and cone. No intercooler. Just say small. Because these were, I believe they're using a side mount intercooler in these cars. So a very small intercooler. And at 5-6 pounds of boost, we don't need anything too crazy there. Yeah, that looks a little better. Look at that. Look at that intercooler piping. It's so cute. Giant turbo. Tiny intercooler piping. Okay, so having turbo issues. Only got 3 psi. That small intercooler did not work. We'll go with the medium then. Look at that difference. Looks gigantic. Maybe we need to work on our scaling of that just a little bit. Okay, that should help that top end. I hope the torque stays the same though. That was perfect. Yep. So I've got the torque right. Power, however, power's a little high. Let me double check some numbers real quick. Yeah, okay, it's saying 232. I'm not sure about that. But what I'm gonna do is take off some of that cam profile and see where that leaves us. Torque comes right up. Struggling, it's struggling. Too much. We took too much. That feels right. I like the way that chart's looking. Nice steep torque curve there, and it stays pretty solid. And 232 horsepower. Boy, it's like I planned it. Probably a little high on boost though. But I'm getting the power needed, so I think I'm gonna be just fine with that. That will be a 7M-GTE. Alrighty. So now we've got a 1.8 BP MX-5 motor and a couple of early 90s, actually late 80s, early 90s, kind of stretching our field here, but we'll say early 90s Supra motors, inline 6s, to be overwhelmed by the amount of inline 4s among us. But do not worry, next time I actually plan to do a couple of V8s. Still in our Japanese series, but you'll just have to tune in next time to figure out which two those are. But until then, my name is Cone Dodger, and thanks for watching.